Hey friends, good morning. Happy Sunday. Live here in New York City, starting in Central Park, where the beautiful blossoms are coming out. And you'll probably notice a tremendous number of people. I think it's called the World AIDS Day Walk. So we send our best wishes to everybody taking part in that. We're kind of doing our own thing today. So we are heading in the opposite direction. Hey Ramona, good morning, good to see you. Good to see everybody this Sunday morning. Mika back home, Nabul, Brenda free. It's wonderful to see everybody. No stroller cam today. Got the couple hours to myself this morning. Shout out to the missus, take the kid. We'll walk across the Great Lawn, get over to the west side. Yeah, we are not following the bikes today. We are going against the bikes today. I'll try not to get lost. Yeah, Brenda, we don't, we have such a, we hardly have a schedule to begin with, but we've been doing, some more weekday walks, which is when I take the kiddo out. And we've been experimenting with stroller cam, trying different things so that we can get out a little bit more often. Brenda says West Side is now my favorite. Yeah, I mean, it's really wonderful.
I would do that.
Especially the waterfront. So that's where we're headed today. It's going to take us a little bit to get there. JK says it's a beautiful day today. It sure is. It's 64 degrees, nice and sunny, beautiful sky. We're going to see a lot of that today, going up to 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, this is the AIDS Day walk. Big shout out to everybody participating. I wish I had known about it earlier. Maybe we would have joined the walk, but there's always next year. Also later, but which was really fun last. So this is the Asian American Pacific Islander parade. We watched that on the stream last year. It was really fun, but since I'm getting out so infrequently now, when I get a chance to really stretch my legs, I need to take them. And I'm noticing that there's so many people covering a lot of the parades now. So we'll take part in some of them from time to time when we can. But I just needed the walk.
Unreal.
So she ended up buying it.
Sorry about the connection. I don't know what's up with Central Park these days. But in general, I'm noticing a lot of buffering on all the streams these days. So as the city gets busier and busier, I guess the networks aren't really keeping up. Brenda says, hope it's a healthy walk for all, 100%. Preston, good to see you. Crazy that May's almost over. I know, time is flying by. Brenda asked, does the city do a Memorial Day parade? It sure does, and it's actually really impressive. I have little bits of video from prior years. I don't think I ever stayed for a full one, but we've seen bits and pieces of them in the past couple of years. RoboJack's in the house. Greetings from London. Busy Bee, happy Sunday. Good to see everybody. For those just joining, we're crossing Central Park to get to the west side, but we're going to do something we haven't done in a long time. ER asking, is today stroller camp? Just me and my 2 feet. Robert Brunn, Gregory Kelly, Prince Ice, Ambrose. Welcome everybody. We are crossing the park, so apologies if there's a little buffering here and there. I don't know what, I was just saying. I've been noticing more buffering on all the channels. So all the networks seem to be getting very clogged up. This is the Great Lawn. That's Central Park South. But we're making our way across all the way to the west side. Bagel Mitch Schmear, good to see you. John Bader asking, any Flacco sightings? Yeah, he's stayed in kind of the same area that he's been in these days, which is the North Woods. Not too, somewhere sort of in between where the Lasker Pool and the Grotto are. I think it's called the Loch, L-O-C-H. He's been hanging out over there, and he seems to be doing okay. I get, you know, I look for updates from different photographers and stuff. He seems to be doing okay. Fingers crossed that stays the case. Ooh, lots of people on the west side. So again, there's the World AIDS Day walk happening here in Central Park. That's probably also why there's a little more buffering today. There are a ton of people in the park for a Sunday morning. But we'll be out of here in a few minutes, crossing over to the west side, make our way to the waterfront. But today, like I said, we're gonna go do something different that we haven't done in a little bit. We're gonna go north. We're gonna head over to one of the great sites in New York City, the Great Gray Bridge and the Little Red Lighthouse. Yeah, John, he seems to be doing okay. He gets hassled by birds, you know, other birds from time to time, like hawks, I guess. But he's a big boy. Seems to take care of himself. Gotta look for a gap so we can cross. George Rucker, welcome. John, good morning. If I missed you, welcome. Thanks for being with us. Leaving the park momentarily. So hopefully we'll have a slightly more solid connection in a little bit. Gregory was saying, hope the family's doing well. Yeah, everybody's doing pretty well. Kiddo is, for the most part, only getting up once per night now. Used to get up all the time. So that's a huge improvement. There was one night this week where he did get up a few times, which was a little tiring. But I feel like he's getting a little better and better. So that's promising. Means I'm not totally brain dead every single day. Nicholas, good to see you. Brenda says Flacco needs a mate. You know, it's so funny, we talked about it before, there's a female owl in the park named Geraldine, but they don't seem to show any interest in each other. And I guess a lot of them, I think I remember reading that a lot of them are fairly solitary. But yeah, would definitely like to see more owls. They're so interesting to look at. Hey Nellie, good to see you. As we make our way west, this is Central Park West, and these, the last remaining private residences on Central Park West. Always beautiful when we see them. Here at the corner 85th Street in Central Park West. John says, isn't Geraldine a different type of owl? Yeah, but when I was reading the bird people talk about it, the way they talked about it made it seem like it was possible, but I guess, you know, I'm not super educated on that stuff. So I don't know. Bagel says, what's our kiddo's name? Caleb. He joins me on some of the walks, which is why folks are mentioning stroller cam. That's our latest innovation. Brenda says there will come a time. Oh, you haven't seen any real climbing just yet, but he's very strong. So the moment he figures that out, I'm sure he will. That'll be terrifying. Prince Ice says, great weather to walk. Korea's 10 to 15 degrees hotter. Geez. I mean, it'll be that way here soon enough. I'm not in any rush for that. No rush. I'll take my 60s and 70s, thank you very much. The beautiful townhouses of the Upper West Side. Sal Muscle's here, good to see you. Mika says stroller cam working out great.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I've got, so we have two strollers. We originally got a jogging style stroller, which I haven't used with stroller cam yet. We've been trying to use this other one, which is like super small. And for a variety of reasons, using a smaller one in New York City is way more convenient. But I busted out the jogger, which I call the tank. It's just gigantic, that's the problem with it. But I think it's smoother. So that'll be part of Stroller Cam 3.0 next time we go out. So that's next version. We'll be rolling out with the tank. At least take Geraldine out to dinner first. No kidding. So this is Columbus Avenue on the Upper West Side. Lots of good restaurants over here. Nina's, good Mexican. Big Gay ice cream, really good ice cream. Mamoon's falafel. Oh, and Motorino, really excellent Neapolitan style pizza. It's so great over here. Lots of people out for Sunday brunch. Lots of people having a good time. Hey, British Craze here, good to see you. Welcome everybody who's joined. Today we're really going to stretch our legs a bit. We're heading to the west side, going to go north, head over to one of my favorite sites, the Little Red Lighthouse. I've mentioned it a few times before. We've walked there before if you've been with the channel for a while. But it's been at least months since we've last done this. Probably more than I realize. But I've mentioned it a few times recently, wanting to do it on a nice, really beautiful weekend day. And today is that day. So we're going to get on the waterfront, walk by the Hudson River, and really stretch our legs, get a little exercise. And I've probably mentioned before, but there's a children's book about the Little Red Lighthouse. It's called The Great Gray Bridge. And the Little Red Lighthouse that I read to the kiddo from time to time, so he'll get to see, if he's watching along at home today, the real thing. Hopefully the missus is having a nice coffee on the couch, relax for a little while. Though if I had to guess, she's probably giving the kiddo his bottle right about now. Coming up to Amsterdam Avenue, Broadway after that. You know what, why don't we go up to 86th Street so we can see the Belle Nord, otherwise known as the Arconia, from the TV show Only Murders in the Building. From avenue to avenue, from block to block, absolutely beautiful building. There's the Belle Nord. Just incredibly immense structure. Goes from Amsterdam to Broadway and from 86th Street to 87th. It's really incredible. Has an interior courtyard. And again, if you ever watch the TV show Only Murders in the Building, a lot of it takes place in there. It's where all the characters live. And they film here from time to time. So if you ever want to see Steve Martin in person, just try to pay attention to when they're filming over here. Sal did a few thousand steps over to the CVS. Hey, you just got to do something. Oh, look at this beautiful building. You can sort of peek into the courtyard from over here. I'm still waiting for my invitation inside. One day, one day. They had some nice flowers in there. Oh, so pretty. If anybody knows anybody, let's get that invite. Gregory says, why aren't Columbus, Amsterdam, etc. known by the avenue name? That's a good question. I think when I looked it up, it had something to do with just wanting to make the neighborhoods more appealing. It was sort of marketing. Early version of marketing, you know how like we now have like Tribeca, etc. It was kind of an early version of that is my understanding, but if anybody wants to correct me, happy to be corrected. Oh, Ambrose has a friend who saw Steve Martin in person. I heard he hands out a card. If you ask for an autograph, he has like a pre-written card. If you want to look that up, it's pretty funny. Lamborghini. Oh, and the street is blocked for some reason. Maybe we'll head back down to 85th and see what that march is about. Let's go see what the march is. Sorry for all the crisscrossing, but when we see something interesting, let's go check it out. Prince Ice says it's a hurricane. Interesting. How much do we think that goes for? Sal says, are we near the Beacon Theater? We are indeed. We are not terribly far. So what? I think it's a... They're playing Jewish music. But off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the holiday or event is. If anybody knows, feel free to let us know. Is it, yeah, I'm not sure. Prince Ice says almost $200,000, so like 1/3 of the average New York City apartment if it goes for about $600K.
So they got the message. See, the thing about that is,
Colleen is in the house. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome everybody. It's been a bit since we've gotten to do our own little thing. So again, my thanks to the missus letting me get out of the apartment for a little bit. Crossing West End Avenue. I love the name. West End Avenue. Oh, and we have to go back because I was reading this. There's a street fair on 86, so we're truly going back and forth. But yeah, I was reading there was a street fair over here. At first, when I saw the people being escorted, that's what I thought it was about. And I was like, no, that's on 86th Street. Let's go check this out. And then yeah, something like noon, 1 p.m. I was saying before, there's going to be the AAPI parade, so I will not be offended if anybody wants to go check that out. I think there's going to be a lot of people streaming that today. And Lisa said, did I want to cover the parade? Which of course I'm always interested in doing, but sometimes I just need to take a nice walk. So we're going to do our own thing today, see our own sights. And I know some of our friends will have covered the parade, so I can check that out on the replay later on. It looks like they might just be setting up, because I think this was going to open around noon. It's 11:30 in the morning. Also, there was a huge Prism update. Prism is the app we use to stream. There was a big update, so we're trying some stuff out.
any
it had new settings. So hopefully the chat's working better. And then some of the new settings had to do with stabilization. So we're going to play around with that. Check that out. That's cool. So they're going to have activities for the families. WSCAH rocks the block dry goods packing line. Interesting. I'll have to look up West Side Campaign Against Hunger. Got it. West Side Campaign Against Hunger. I'll have to read about them later on. But this is cool. So 86th Street today, between West End Avenue and Riverside Drive. West Side Campaign Against Hunger sort of block party. Looks pretty fun. Lots happening in the city today. I know down on the Lower East Side there's some events. You know, when the weather improves, the city really comes alive. So here we are, Riverside Drive. We're gonna hop down into Riverside Park and then make our way all the way down to the Hudson River Greenway, where we're gonna go north today. To the Great Gray Bridge and the Little Red Lighthouse. Been wanting to do this for a long time. Ooh. And Brenda Free with the $20 super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you 20 times over. Always appreciate your kindness and your support. Thanks for hanging out. George says Memorial Day coming up. Yeah, I hope we'll be able to go out around then. And then one day, we'll do a family stream again. One of these coming weekends. Get Lisa and the kiddo out. We almost did that today, but this was a good day to try to go a good distance. So we will do that sometime soon. RJ checking in. Ola from Colorado. Good to see you, RJ. Hope all's well. Oh yeah, Nabul. I only briefly saw it, but Nabul is streaming in Casablanca. Incredible. And one of my favorite movies of all time. Gregory misses the walks with Lisa. I know. It's just, we're very overdue for doing more of that. We'll try. I miss them too. Walking by the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. We've talked about this before. They're going to be doing a $60 million renovation of it soon. 60. Whew. Seriously expensive. But that's the cost of doing anything in New York City these days. Yeah, for those who have been with us for a really long time, we've gone through kind of different phases in the channel. Originally did only recorded walks. And then we started playing around with live streaming. But really started to hit our rhythm. Lisa and I would be out together. That was really fun. So we'll try to do more of that in the future. Gregory, thank you. Sassy Lassie, good to see you. Brenda says hurricane season. I know. You know, speaking of that sort of thing, there was an earthquake. I don't know if you guys read, there was an earthquake in Westchester recently. And I'm familiar, you know, I know that New York gets earthquakes from time to time. They're usually very, very, very minor. But it's always a little crazy when you read about that. The gardens here in Riverside Park. We talked about this before. This is from You've Got Mail. Here around West 90th Street and Riverside Drive. Super, super beautiful. And oh, they have the neighborhood volunteers in there as we speak. Ambrose says it was a 2.2, yeah. Just crazy. Oh, look at all these colors. This is so gorgeous. Beautiful. But let's head down to the Hudson River Greenway and start our walk north. Let's get to that lighthouse. That's our goal today. Little Red Lighthouse. From where I probably walked like, I don't know, half a mile before I started the stream, something like that. And I think altogether from there to the Little Red Lighthouse is something like 7 miles. Prince Ice says, saw news about Manhattan building mass making the island sink. I saw that headline. I didn't read about it though. Is that one of those things where it would take like thousands of years? Or is it something I actually need to be concerned about? All right, here we are on the water on the Hudson River. John says a big thank you to the volunteers, 100% keeping the city beautiful for us. And I have to remember to look for the markers because I got yelled at last time for being on the wrong side. But in my defense, they don't, as you can see, it's not painted super well just yet. I think the walkers are on the left side. So we'll let these people pass and then we'll get closer to the water. I think that's what I remember. Prefer not to be yelled at today by anybody. William checking in from Brooklyn. Hopes everybody's having a good day. Hey, it's good to see you, William. Hope all's well. Gregory says, how far is it to the lighthouse? Well, you can see where we're headed, which is the George Washington Bridge. I think from here, let me see if I remember this correctly. Is the GW at 180? I think it is. And we started at about 90, so 90 blocks. So 4.5 miles. 4.5. Oh, this is so sad. This is a memorial. Let's pause and pay our respects. Oh, if you ever see something that looks like that, usually a white bike, symbolizes somebody who passed away on a bike. It's a ghost bike. Oh, that makes me so sad. Be safe out there, everybody. Be safe. Be safe. Seaplane above us. Hopefully you're not picking up too much of it, but it is super windy over here by the water. We do have our mic cover on, so hopefully, but if you hear me raising my voice, it's because I'm trying to talk over the wind. And then whenever I watch the replays, you don't hear much of the wind. So you're like, why is Sean yelling? That is why Sean is yelling. So we didn't get a chance to do this year. It's just been tough with the kiddo, but during cherry blossom season, this whole area just gets covered in blossoms. It's so beautiful. So am I on the wrong side again?
Oh.
Gosh. I thought I was supposed to be on this side. Am I supposed to be on that side? So confused. You can tell I haven't done this as frequently as I used to. I'm not even sure which side I'm supposed to be on. Got some tennis courts over here. Oh, but the breeze feels so nice. It feels really lovely. We will take it. Lots of people in line for the tennis courts, like 20 people signing up. It's awesome. Yeah, there's like the remnants of the painted lines, but it disappeared a long time ago, and I guess nobody's in any hurry to repaint it. I just try to stay pretty far to one side, so I'm hopefully out of their way. But there's a sign up ahead. Let's see what it says. But yeah, the bridge you see in the distance, that's where we're headed. It's the George Washington Bridge. I've been wanting to walk it, actually, because I've wanted to walk it for a really long time, but it wasn't, the walking path was not the most impressive looking thing I'd ever seen. They recently redid it. They recently redid the walking path. So one day we'll check that out. Maybe we'll look at the time when we get there. We'll see how we're doing. Maybe we'll check. Maybe we'll like go on it a little bit. We definitely don't have time to cross the bridge. But if we're doing okay on time, maybe we'll pop up there and see what it looks like. But the main objective today is to get to the Little Red Lighthouse. Yeah, Ambrose, but was that a different incident? I don't think that person hit anybody. But yeah, I remember reading about that, which is not fun and should be impossible. So I don't know even how that happened. Okay, here's painting. I think the runners, so I think everybody going in our direction is supposed to be on the right side. And I guess we are sharing the path with the bikes. So I'll just try to stay as far to the right as I can. That's my plan. How does that sound? Lots of people getting their exercise today, taking in the views. Oh, Ambrose, it might have been the second one. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, now it's switched to pedestrian only on the far left. So let's go to the far left where it says pedestrian only. Tricky, tricky, tricky. Lino says a trip to Fort Lee will be interesting. Yeah, I really want to make it there one day, but we just need more time. Just need more time. Sally Scipio, good morning. Good to see you. For the most part, most people are cool, Prince Ice. It's just, as our friend Dutch likes to call them, the wannabe Lance Armstrongs. That's where we usually have some difficulty. Or this person up ahead who's fully inside of the pedestrian-only part of the path. Red Star, good to see you. JC Droid. Welcome everybody who's joining. We are here on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, getting into the Morningside Heights neighborhood, eventually in the Harlem, Manhattanville portion. We are heading to the GW Bridge, and specifically the Little Red Lighthouse, one of my favorite sites in New York City. It's a beautiful day, 60 degrees, going up to 74. There's a really lovely breeze blowing. And as you can see, lots of people are out taking in the exercise. And my beautiful wife, Lisa, is in the house. Good to see you. How's the kiddo doing? Hopefully you're getting a little break.
I feel like,
No, please allow me. Prince Ice is from South Korea and has mentioned before that there are lots of South Koreans in the Palisades area. So one day we'll make it out there. One day. Part of our never-ending to-do list. A break. Haha. I know. Everybody was asking how you're doing, Lisa. And we were saying that we'll do a family walk one of these days. Maybe one of the next weekends. Patricia sending Lisa a happy belated Mother's Day. That's very kind. Very, very kind. Ooh, this wind. It's really strong, but I have to tell you, with the sun, it feels so good. Yeah, Prince Ice, I know. It's a little stressful. A little bit stressful, I have to be honest. But it's such a beautiful Sunday. Walks in Camera, checking in from London. Good to see you. Big shout out to all our friends all around the world. Says the street sign says 125th Street exit in a quarter mile. That'll take us to the West Harlem Piers, which are really pretty. And if anybody watches our friend Yo Ange, she does a lot of streaming from this area and from the West Harlem Piers. So you might recognize it when we get there. Lino mentions Tarrytown. My wife and I did a trip to Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow years ago. Really beautiful. And lots of New York history, if you're into that sort of thing. Particularly a gentleman named Washington Irving, if anybody's familiar with him. Steve Gonzalez, good morning, good to see you. Everybody who just joined, welcome. ABX, good to see you. Welcome everybody. Jeffrey asks, why are we walking on this side of the path? Because this is the pedestrian part of the path. The right side is for wheeled vehicles in two directions. The left side is for pedestrians in two directions. But it would really help if they put a little more, if they repainted at some point, because you only see the signs for that periodically. But we are where we are supposed to be. Patricia says, I enjoy these live streams, being I'm getting ready to have my baby boy soon. Makes me feel like I'm walking as well. Miss walking? Well, a lot of people tell us stuff like that. It is such a honor to get to walk and explore on other people's behalf if they're not able to themselves. But more importantly, best wishes for the pregnancy. It's been, as I'm sure you've heard us say, there's all sorts of challenges and difficulties, especially things like not getting a ton of sleep. But every time we see that kiddo smile, and even better when they start to laugh and giggle, it all feels very, 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 very worthwhile. So wishing you best of luck. Ah, yeah, George, almost noon. Little mid-morning, late morning, early afternoon walk today. Great day to be by the water, great time to be by the water, lots of people out. It's always fun when we see people enjoying the city as much as we do. Experiencing the fresh air and the beautiful sights. I'm curious when we get to the Little Red Lighthouse how many people will be there today. Sometimes when we get closer, there's places for people to do things like picnics and barbecues. So we'll see how much of that's going on today. Diz Jake, good to see you. Yeah, Steve's going to be back here July 4. Check out the fireworks. My only advice for the fireworks is wherever you're going to go way earlier than you think you need to. Every place that has good views of the fireworks gets so incredibly busy. And that was true even when, you know, there was more COVID concern around crowds and stuff. So I think this year it's going to be so slammed with like thousands and thousands of people. So wherever you think you want to see the fireworks, go hours early. Bring some food, bring some lawn chairs, bring a lot of, you know, water and stuff. But go way earlier than you think you need to. Last year we did Long Island City, which was beautiful and great views, but it got very stressful with the number of people around us. Lisa was pregnant, so we were just very stressed. Aldiv, good to see you. Welcome. Everybody who's joined. Thanks for hanging out. Making our way to the GW, the George Washington Bridge. Getting closer and closer in the distance. The exit is for 125th Street. So in pretty shortly, we'll get to see the West Harlem Piers. Some really nice views over there. Welcome all the way to Greece. Thanks for being with us. Patricia, is it your first? Diana Lee, welcome. Good to see you. Oh, some really stunning views over here. Love being on the west side. So there's the paint. Bikes on the right, pedestrian only on the left. But you can see the lines are so faded. It's so funny. Sometimes when you can see New Jersey kind of right across the water, you forget how big the Hudson is, but then you see one of those big tanker ships, which are gigantic, and you look how small it looks right now, and you're like, oh, yeah, the Hudson's gigantic. Absolutely gigantic. Hey Rolo, good to see you. Welcome. Oh, I'm really enjoying the breeze. So yeah, Ambrose had mentioned this before. A car kind of jumped from the West Side Highway onto the path. Really, really, really bad. And you can see, I mean, there's not much barrier, right, between the exercise path and the West Side Highway. Something for the city to think about. And I've mentioned before, but if you have allergies, oh my gosh, the amount of pollen right now in the city is crazy. So crazy right now. It's like, it always smells nice, but you're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna challenge my, hello, this is really gonna challenge my allergies. Oh, look at this. No worries, Diana. Always happy when you can join. Thanks for being with us. Oh, getting closer. There's the, starting to see the buildings around the West Harlem Piers. And as I was saying, the George Washington getting bigger and bigger in the distance. But here, a road hazard, big family of Canadian geese. Oof. Big old family of geese. Last time we did the walk going south, we saw some young ones, little babies. Oh. All right, almost wiped out. Basically, the problem was the kid needs to be farther to the right. Never a dull moment. Traffic jam. Scott Briggs is in the house. Indiana Jones and the Geese of Doom. Indiana Jones and the bicycle catastrophe. Jeffrey says, what do they call them in Canada? That's a great question. That is a very good question. So, funny enough, this path actually gets a little more narrow just up ahead. But the worst path of all in New York City, this isn't actually that bad. This is fairly wide altogether. It's just people don't really stay in their lane. The worst path is the Queensboro Bridge. So if anybody who's watching now was watching Dutch Ma's maybe a month ago, a few weeks ago. I haven't done it in a long time, and I may never walk that again unless they redo it. But if you want to know stress, the Queensboro Bridge, it is so stressful. So check this out. Look at the concrete, look at the birds. Isn't that pretty? Oh boy. It's definitely a little more fun to walk this path south because you can be all the way to the right. But this is where it gets super narrow. Love those images of the birds though, it's so cool, and they're three-dimensional. Marzin, good to see you. No saunter today. We're just going from about 90th to the Little Red Lighthouse. Been wanting to see the lighthouse for a long time. The last time we did it, it was pretty nice out, so it was probably much longer ago. It was probably way longer ago than I remember. So just up ahead will be 125th Street. On our right is Manhattanville, really interesting part of the city. And you can take a path upwards to Riverside Drive, Riverside Park, and you would not be very far from Grant's Tomb. Going south. Going north, the area's sort of being redeveloped a little bit. There's a lot of new buildings owned by Columbia University. But actually what we'll do is maybe we'll take a little detour here just for a second so I can show you guys the Viaduct, which some of you will recognize from things like the Spider-Man movies. And I always think it's just a really cool, it's kind of like a really amazing sight. And it's interesting because we've talked probably before that certain parts of the city are two levels, one on top of the other. And this is one of those areas, the Viaduct.
We went out with the guy.
So you can walk underneath it on, I think it's like 12th Avenue. And you can walk above it, which is Riverside Drive. Okay, so I have to be super careful here because there's going to be people coming in every direction. So let's hop across. So this is 125th Street. On our left is Dinosaur Barbecue. But I want to show you guys this viaduct. I think it's super interesting and a really cool feature here in New York City. And Brenda asking, when's the next time we're going to go to Roosevelt Island? Ooh, definitely. I mean, there's so much stuff I want to do. But it's with the kiddo right now, it's just hard to get the time to do it. But trust me, I want to go to Roosevelt Island as much as you. Okay, so let me cross the street since I have the light over here, and then I'll explain some stuff. So where these people are standing is Dinosaur Barbecue, kind of a famous restaurant here in New York City. These are the St. Clair stairs that take you up to Riverside Park. And then this is the viaduct running atop Riverside Drive. So let's get some good views of it, because I just think it's one of the coolest looking things. But if anybody knows, Spider-Man, you probably recognize him flying around on this stuff. Ooh, and I have to tell you, I'm a vegetarian, but even me, Dinosaur Barbecue smells really good. All right, let's safely walk over this way. Show you some of the sights. So here you can see the sign, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, 12th Avenue. And it's funny because we're outside of the grid a little bit, and you can see 125th, and then the next block is 130th. 126 is right over there. It's super, super confusing. And then, yeah, Marsden mentioning the Cotton Club, although my understanding is it's the Cotton Club in name. I'm not sure it's really connected to the old Cotton Club. At least that's what I read once. And this is the viaduct. I just think it's so beautiful down there. Really cool. Okay, so let's head back to the waterfront. I just wanted to take a little detour and show you some of this stuff because we're not around here too often. We have the light, so hopefully we won't get anybody driving into us. And then just check out the flowers and stuff over here. They've done a really good job. It's really pretty down here. From time to time, Ange has filmed. They do street fairs and stuff underneath that viaduct, and it's high on my to-do list to get to go to one of those. So one day. So we're gonna cross the street here again. These are the West Harlem Piers, and this is one of the funniest street names in New York City, Marginal Street. So named because that's all this is. It's just like a few blocks long, and it's not really important enough to be named an avenue, so it's just called Marginal Street. So let's, without getting hit, because the walkers and the bikes all mix up together here, let's cross. There's the Baylander. They do drinks and stuff on there. So if you ever want to have a beer on top of the water, you could do so right there at the Baylander. In fact, there's some folks up there on the second level, hopefully enjoying a nice beer. And the views. Brian Davis, good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I know there's a big parade going on, so don't blame anybody if you want to check that out. But we don't get too many chances all the time anymore to really stretch our legs. So today we're walking north about 7 miles. We crossed Central Park, and now we are heading to the George Washington Bridge, that bridge right there in the distance, underneath which sits a historic lighthouse known as the Little Red Lighthouse. So that's where we're headed. So from here to there, we're gonna go, just up ahead of us is, somebody already mentioned in the chat, the wastewater treatment plant. It's kind of interesting. On top of it, you can probably see all the trees and stuff, is some exercise facilities and sports facilities up there. But we're gonna walk underneath it a little bit. There's the rest of the it's officially the Greenway, but we're going to get a little bit farther from the water, as you'll see. But we'll take the path around the treatment plant, and then when we get around it, we'll be back on the water. And if anybody's following along at home, just look up the Hudson River Greenway if you want to see the path that we're taking. Marzin, and you should check out his channel, has some really cool videos. Mentioned, are we doing the Great Saunter? So the Great Saunter is a walk of the entire perimeter of Manhattan Island. We're definitely not doing that today, but one day we will. One day. One day we will do that. Today we're just doing a little bit of the Hudson River to go check out our friend, the Little Red Lighthouse. I was saying at the very start, there's a famous children's book called The Great Gray Bridge and the Little Red Lighthouse that I read to my kiddo. And today we're going to show him the real thing. So again, here's the painted path, right? So pedestrians on the left, bikes on the right. Everything's supposed to go two directions, but as you can see, it's pretty narrow. Prince Ice always loves the river view. I love the river view too, and I like the sound it makes. Especially as we go a little farther up. We're a little farther, I think, from the roadway. Like some of it runs above. Check out these ducks, so colorful. Oh, Brenda got to see the Foo Fighters at Citi Field. Oh, I bet that was incredible. One of my favorite all-time Foo Fighters performances, which I love to watch on YouTube from time to time, is they did the last performance of David Letterman's show. They did Everlong. And they showed, clips from his whole time. And I love that video. So if you find that video, it's one of my favorites. Okay, so here's where we're going to start making a little bit of a detour. We have to go around the treatment plant. Again, there are ways to get on top of the treatment plant where they do have some sports facilities and stuff, but where those bikes are going, that's where we're headed. And then you can see the rest of Riverside Drive up there. New York City is like, it's a tangled mess of paths. All right, let's get over here. And you can see the big sign, ped only. So pedestrians only on the left, bikes and other wheeled things on the right. Ron TV says Foo Fighters, our last defense against the Foo. Diana Lee, quack. Ian's in the house. Good to see you. Welcome. It's good to see all of our friends today. I know it's been, we're very haphazard with our streams these days. So I'm always very grateful that you guys find our live stream and make the time to hang out with us. Ron TV misses Dave's late show. He's so funny. But I was talking to one of my friends because it's the writer's strike. And if you really want to laugh, you have to look up old videos of Conan O'Brien during the last writer's strike. And one of his bits was he would just spin his wedding ring on his desk. He would just spin it and see if he would try to break his own record for how long he could spin his wedding ring on the desk. Every time I think about that, I just think it's hysterical. It's so stupid. So despite being next to a wastewater treatment facility, they actually do a halfway decent job of keeping it, somewhat nicely landscaped over here. But in about, I don't know, 5 more minutes, 8 more minutes, we'll be back by the water. We just have to get through this little detour. We sure are, Ian. We sure are. Oh, Harlem River. No, sorry. Riverside Drive. Sorry. Riverside Drive. Other side of the city. Other side of the city. It's been a long time since we've done the Harlem River. So on the east side, mostly it's the East River, but then once you get to Harlem, it's the Harlem River. And it's really pretty over there. There's some great walking paths. Lots of beautiful bridges. We did, we went in that direction the other day when we went from 90th to where did we go? Like 114 or something? 110. That was fun. Beautiful colors over there. Yeah, Ambrose, I haven't noticed too much buffering since Central Park. It was pretty bad in Central Park, but they were doing, we have a lot of trouble these days in Central Park, and then today was the World AIDS Day walk, so there were many, many, many thousands of people in the park, despite it being fairly early. So it was particularly bad connection there today. But I was watching Action Kid, he was in San Francisco, had a terrible connection. And I've noticed Gabe here in New York, he's also on Verizon, and he's been having a lot of connection issues. So streaming is a little tricky these days. The networks are getting really overloaded. Yeah, Dave, it is, if anybody ever takes the train, you get these incredible Hudson River views over here. I really, really, really recommend it. One day, again, on my never-ending to-do list, I was going to try to film some of the Hudson River line, like if I could go at a really weird time where there wouldn't be a ton of people on the train. I was going to try to film some of it because it is so pretty. Prince Ice says, they ever add 5G stations? So the thing is, we tried a bunch of times to stream with 5G on different networks, T-Mobile and Verizon, and uniformly it's been a bad experience. So the thing with 5G is it's supposed to be really fast, but it doesn't go long distances. So what happens is your phone is just constantly going from tower to tower, and when you're streaming, it just produces all this intermittent buffering. So it doesn't work. Even though the speed is better, or should be better, it's unstable. So for the most part, all the streamers only use 4G. The problem is it's overloaded. There's just too many people using it now. They should add more towers or something, but that would require them spending money. So it's a challenge, but like we do these 3-hour streams, the buffering is 5 minutes of that. Unfortunately, people, if we have a couple hundred people watching and there's a big buffer, like 50 people will disappear. immediately. Got a soccer field over here. Leaders in our neighborhoods. That's cool. It's really pretty. Ambrose says, love the IRR, the Long Island Railroad, can see out the window unlike New Jersey Transit. Yeah, most of my experience with New Jersey Transit is the occasional attempt at going to Newark Airport via public transportation. You're like, I'm going to save money today. The actual answer to save money going to Newark Airport is to take the bus. That is my expert opinion on the matter. There's too many transfers when you do the train. It's very stressful if you have luggage, even if you don't have much. Jeffrey says, think about it. Everybody over the age of 5 has a cell phone in their pocket. Exactly. And everybody's doing, like at the walk today in Central Park, everybody's probably posting video, which makes sense. So it's not just that everybody has a cell phone these days, it's that everybody's using it in a really intense way. And the networks aren't really keeping up. Okay, detour coming to the end. Once we make a right over here, we'll be back on the waterfront, my friends. Good views coming momentarily. Back on the water. And for whatever reason, everybody's in the walking path. Even over here where it's much clearly marked. All right, so we're back on the Hudson. To our left, lots of sports facilities on our right. So you'll see baseball fields, soccer fields, tennis courts, all sorts of stuff. And really cool walking trails. We're staying on the main path over here, as you can see, but there's also all these paths that go into the trees to our right. And then also you're going to see on our left, there's lots of picnic benches and stuff, and places where people, I think, can do barbecues. And so on really nice weekend days, it might be a little windy today, but on really nice weekend days, you'll see lots of birthday parties and stuff. And in just a moment, we can actually go down to that second path where there should not be as many bikes for a little bit. Less stressful, less stressful. Oh, and look at those beautiful sailboats. Oh, and a really nice looking yacht by the water. Let's go take a quick look at that. That's some nice views. Ron TV says a beautiful wire fence. How pretty is that? How fun would it be to be on this little pleasure boat? Ron TV says, follow the bikes. I know, I need to make some merch one day. Brenda says, do we usually take transit or do we walk home after this? So in the olden days, we would walk, and usually what I would do in the old days is either before a stream or after that's when I would do like one of my recorded videos. But I got to get home after this, help take care of the kiddo, so we will probably take the subway. And if I have enough time, I'll probably be going to the grocery store, try to cook for the fam tonight. Brian says Palisades Amusement Park used to be on the Jersey side. I've heard really good things about the Palisades. Both, there's the built-up area, but there's also Palisades State Park, I think it's called. There's supposed to be some really incredible hikes over there. The funny thing is, I don't actually do a lot of hiking. We do these really crazy long city walks. But I would love to check that out one day. I would love to check that out. Yeah, the views of the sailboat's really pretty. Brenda says cheesecake. I think we had to take we actually have, I think, a couple of those left. These little mini cheesecakes. I think we had to take a break because we did so many. We might have overdone the cheesecake a little bit. Got some fishing over here. While there's a much wider path, I'm going to check the watch and see how our stats are looking today. Let's see, we are at 11,450 steps. We've done 5.8 miles. I was saying it's about a 7-mile walk, so we are right on track, right on track. If you wanted to cross back to the city, you could take that path right there over the highway. A lot of people fishing, huh? Interesting. This is like the most people fishing I've seen in a long time. Lots of people. It's pretty cool. So as we left Harlem,
Soda water.
we're now, that's okay, thank you. We're now in the Heights area. She was an entrepreneur selling soda and water. Smart. Probably does better business though when it's more like 80 degrees. It's pretty cool right now with the wind. This has actually been one of the, except for the little bit of the stress of the bikes and our near miss. That was unfortunate. Temperature wise, this has been one of the best days to do this walk. Marzen. I'm definitely not vegan, I'll tell you that. Definitely have a bit of a dairy problem. Elaine is in the house, good to see you. Getting closer and closer to our Great Gray Bridge, coming up. Closer and closer. Okay, I think we're gonna take this path for now. I don't really feel like being so stressed by the bikes. I'm not enjoying that as much. If anybody is newer to our channel, basically when we started this kind of in the middle of the pandemic, I think this is year 3 for us. And one of the first things I did was this little personal project of mine where I walked every street in Manhattan. And it's so funny, and that included the perimeter, although I didn't do it in one day the way Marzen has, the saunter. But if you watch some of those old videos, they're not particularly good. But if you watch those old videos, it's crazy just how few people were outside. It's so funny to compare now to then. Maybe funny is not the right word, but it's something. Oh, but this is a beautiful day to be by the water. Just feels so nice out. Great views. Sound of the water crashing against the rocks. Got to see some wildlife along the way. Can't complain. Can't complain. And always fun to see so many other people enjoying the city along with us. Very, very, very excited one day for the kiddo to join me on this walk and get to visit the little red lighthouse along with me. It's one of the books we read them at night. Ron TV says we got to start somewhere. Mine are a bit cringy to watch. Yeah, I was using at the time the DJI Pocket 2 because I just needed something very lightweight, and I was not really as focused on video quality. I mean, it was more about accomplishing the walks and recording them than it was about taking like the best videos in the world. And I hadn't figured out the whole live streaming thing at that point yet. That would have been interesting in retrospect. But I needed something small because I was doing like 20 miles a day. And it's so funny. Lisa could tell you stories, but like my left hand got so, like, I hold the camera in my left hand, and I was doing this in the summertime, and my left hand was so much darker than my right hand. Serba, good to see you. Welcome. Everybody who's joined, thanks for being with us. We are getting closer to our destination, the GW Bridge and the Little Red Lighthouse. Yeah, I don't think we're going to make it on top of the bridge today. We'll do that another time. So today our destination is just going to be the Little Red Lighthouse. It's a little later than I thought. Got to get back, help take care of the kiddo, but also give Lisa a chance to get out this afternoon. Fox and Camera says, think we all gradually develop and improve. Yeah, and it's also like, I feel like I'm constantly doing different things just based on, you know, how my interests in photography and stuff evolves over time. So originally, it was like, I just want to record this thing that I'm doing, this kind of personal project. Then we started streaming, and it was more, you know, hanging out with a side of exploring. And one of the things we're doing more recently are these photo walks where I have the one of my action cameras mounted, and then that leaves my hands free to do photography. And then in the editing, I put the pictures that I take on those walks on the screen. I think that's been more and more interesting to me lately. So I think for the recorded walks, you'll probably see more of those photo walks. Just finding that a very fun thing to do. It's very I find it very relaxing, you know, go out for an hour, take pictures of the city. So you'll probably see more of those when I do some recordings. Diana says, the little red lighthouse that could. Exactly. We are almost there. We're almost there. A little bit farther. Like less than a mile, I think. Arjan, good to see you. Let us know how you're feeling. Hope you're doing a little bit better. Oh, you hear those birds? Beautiful. So again, I was mentioning before, there's little offshoot paths over here. So you can take this kind of into the more wooded area. I think I've done a little bit of that on some of our past recorded walks. And I think it might have been RoboJax who suggested when we do one of our photo walks to go to Harlem and Hamilton Heights and stuff, see some of the kind of the older neighborhoods. Definitely something I'm excited to do. So stay tuned for that. Oh, Arjan. Everybody send Arjan your best healing wishes. Feel better soon. Marzan says to check out the Sisyphus stones. Yeah, I always stop for them. But I read, last time we did it, they weren't very impressive. And I looked it up, and I think basically they were really impressive during the pandemic. And then I think people started to knock them down. And the guy who used to do it would put them back up, but I think eventually he got tired of it. So I'm hopeful they'll be there, but the last time we did this walk, it was a little sad. I think he was exercising or something, Patricia. I think. Lots of playgrounds and stuff over here. I know I'm probably a little bit of a broken record on this, but the West Side waterfront is way nicer than the East Side waterfront for the most part. Lots of places for families to gather. Not as many detours that you have to take. And just in general, it's a lot easier to walk. And it's going to take a long time for the East Side to ever get in the same shape, because huge parts of it aren't even connected at this point. Like the whole area around the UN, it's going to take a long time. So I love walking the West Side. Getting closer, folks. If you scroll back like an hour ago, you could see how small the bridge looked in the distance. Keeps getting bigger. Oh gosh, another memorial. Let's go pay our respects. ER says, as a West Side girl, I fully endorse that statement. And that's coming from an East Side guy. In most cities, we talked about this before, but in most cities, you know, they put highways near the waterfront. It just never occurred to people. Because like in the early days of New York City, the west side, the waterfront, excuse me, was industrial. So ships came in carrying different goods. Those goods got taken off the ships, put onto trains, where they would then go, you know, to wherever their destination was. So it didn't occur to people for a really long time that the waterfront could be a place for, you know, rest, relaxation, and so forth. Until relatively recently. So that's why in a lot of cities, including New York City, that's why you see the highway by the water. And only relatively recently have people started to figure out that actually in a busy city, you know, relaxing, hearing the water, seeing the water, you know, all these other things is actually more valuable. So they've mostly figured that out on the west side, although as you saw, we're right on next to the highway. And there's probably more work that could be done to improve that. They're not as far along on the east side figuring that out. Marsden asked, did we see the other memorial we did? Just really makes me sad. So I always want to stop and have a moment of silence. Diana Lee says relaxing and recharging. Wabi Sabi, stopping at Dinosaur Barbecue. We did go by Dinosaur Barbecue. I was telling everybody it smelled great. It smelled great over there, and we got to see the Spider-Man Viaduct. Really cool views. Marsden says the container revolution is why New York City no longer a major port. Well, that, and you know, all that real estate is so valuable. It's way too expensive to do things like manufacturing here anymore. So that's, you know, that's why like Tribeca went from industrial to artist lofts and stuff. And now it's even more, you know, now it's all luxury, everything. All right, my friends, this is the home stretch. We are in the home stretch. This is it. This is it. This next little path will take us to the Little Red Lighthouse and underneath the Great Gray Bridge. And if anybody has a kiddo at home, there's a great children's book. It's called The Great Gray Bridge and the Little Red Lighthouse. And if you are as interested in New York City and this walk, you could read it to your kiddo too. It's a really good book. We are in the home stretch. So first thing we'll see is along these rocks, the Sisyphus stones, which are stacked rocks, but as I was saying before, I'm not super optimistic that they're in great shape these days, because people, it's so stupid. I mean, it's like so rude, so incredibly like upsetting to me. Somebody takes the time to stack the rocks in a really interesting, beautiful way, and that somebody would come and knock them down. Oh, that drives me crazy. So we're gonna walk along here, see if we can spot any of the stones. And then just beyond this, we will finish our trek at the Little Red Lighthouse, and there's going to be a few historic signs, so I'll read those to you guys, a little bit of the history. Yeah, Marsden, we'll finish over here, and then I'm gonna head up into kind of the 180s. I'll have to cross the highway. There's a bridge over there that I'll take, and then I'll take subway home. Okay, so there's a little bit of stacking. It's nothing like it used to be. If you go on my channel and you search for Hudson River, just find the oldest videos, and maybe if I remember, I'll try to put it in the comments. But if you find my really old videos of the Hudson River Greenway from a few years ago, you can see the Sisyphus stones, and I'll try to remember to put a link. But yeah, I think it's all been knocked down. I think it's been knocked down. That makes me sad. That makes me sad. But look up. Our true destination just up ahead. The Great Gray Bridge. The Little Red Lighthouse. Standing proud. So pretty over here. And you can see lots of people coming, exercise, rest, picnic, etc. Fish. Doing a little bit of everything over here. And you can even get a city bike. You could rent a city bike and bike over here. And last time we had a little more time, we actually continued north. You can take this all the way to the top of Manhattan into Inwood and Inwood Hill Park. But this is going to be where we're stopping in just a little bit. Almost there, almost there. Let me pause here for a second. I'll show you guys the view down south. Gosh, sometimes I forget to look south. Okay. Okay, so we've been walking this path since 90th Street. We're probably at like, I don't know, 175, something like that. But let me zoom in, because if you look all the way, you can see all the way to the southern tip of Manhattan. You can see One World Trade Center. Manhattan Island goes to about 220th Street. We're at about 175, like I said. So we're almost to the top of Manhattan. And on a beautiful, clear day like today, you can see all the way to the south to One World Trade Center. All the way south. Isn't that incredible? Had to zoom in 6x to get that. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay. All right. Home stretch. One piece of advice though is if you do recreate this walk and want to go to the top of Manhattan, as you make your way north, it gets more and more hilly. You have to work your way up. And if you've walked, 7 or 10 miles, sometimes those hills aren't very fun. So I always tell people, if you want to do the length of Manhattan, start at the north and work your way south. It just gets easier as you go, as opposed to getting harder as you go. AC's got our closed captioning on. Yeah, I always try to keep the captions available for people. For anybody who streams, it's if you go into YouTube Studio and go into the live stream manager or whatever it's called, you just have to check a button that generates captions. I wish they did that automatically. I have no idea why they don't default that to on, because I get so many comments from people, especially people who speak English as a second language, that having the captions is super helpful. I have no clue why YouTube doesn't turn that on by default, but people love it.
I think so. Really?
It's like breathtaking as you get close to this bridge when you realize how big it is. You'll see in a second. Bobby asking, have we been up to the Cloisters? I love the Cloisters. So the Cloisters is in Fort Tryon Park, not very far from here, and it's the if you know the Metropolitan Museum of Art, it's their medieval outpost, and it's basically, they basically built a castle. It's really pretty. Highly recommend it. And you could attach it to visiting, just like us, the Little Red Lighthouse. All right, folks, let's head in. Whew. Deep breaths. We'll go to the signs, and we'll also get just some nice views of the bridge. This, by the way, this little garden right here is called Pollinator Place. So they put all these flowers and stuff for the different bugs and such. Here we are underneath the George Washington Bridge. So there's the kids' book I was mentioning to you guys. So only 10 years after Jeffrey's Hook Light was assembled here, the George Washington Bridge was built overhead. Under the bridge's bright lights, the lighthouse became obsolete for the second time. In 1947, the Coast Guard decommissioned the lighthouse and its light was extinguished. In 1951, the Coast Guard proposed to dismantle the lighthouse, but the public protested with an outpouring of letters to officials, largely because the lighthouse was a beloved character in the 1942 children's book, The Little Red Lighthouse and the Great Gray Bridge, written by Hildegard Swift and illustrated by Lynd Ward. The campaign to save the lighthouse was successful, and on July 23, 1951, it came under the jurisdiction of the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation. In the book, the Little Red Lighthouse feels dwarfed by the George Washington Bridge. He feels unneeded and unwanted until one particularly foggy night when the bridge calls to him, quote, "Little brother, where is your light?" The lighthouse wonders, quote, "Am I a brother of yours, bridge? Your light was so bright that I thought mine was needed no more." The bridge replied, quote, "I flash to the ships of the air, but you are still master of the river. Quick, let your light shine, each to his own place, little brother." Today, everybody knows the Jeffrey's Hook Light as the Little Red Lighthouse, and its light shines on. It is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and is a New York City landmark. The Little Red Lighthouse is owned by the City of New York and under the jurisdiction of New York City Parks, and is a member of the Historic House Trust of New York City. Oh, it feels good to have made it. Cynthia, welcome. Sorry if I missed you while I was reading that. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. We have made it. We started in Central Park. We crossed Central Park, entered the Hudson River around 90th Street. We've made it to about 180th, give or take. All the way here to the Little Red Lighthouse. Bobby Sabi Cottage, $4.99 super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you 5 times over. Let me go on widescreen so we get the whole thing. Look at that view. That's probably going to be the thumbnail. That's probably going to be our thumbnail. There's a couple more plaques over here that I'll read to you guys. There's one on the ground right here. The Little Red Lighthouse, built in 1921, decommissioned in 1932. Originally known as Jeffrey's Hook Lighthouse, it stands 20 feet above high water and had a candle power of 10. Immortalized in the children's book, The Little Red Lighthouse and the Great Gray Bridge by Hildegard Swift, published in 1942. It is the last surviving lighthouse on Manhattan Island. And I won't read this one because I think I've read enough, but let me get close to this. So if you ever see one of these signs on one of our walks, these green New York City Park signs, if you Google New York City Parks Little Red Lighthouse, you'll be able to find the text of this. So all the parks and certain historic locations, you can look them up and you can read like essays and stuff that have been written on the New York City Parks website. Lots going on over here, including some YouTube creation, it looks like, content creation. Lost Fly Girl, it is my pleasure. ER, Travel Size, Elaine, Diana Lee, Marzin. Marzin says looks freshly painted. It actually really does. It looks really nice. They must have done some work recently. So it's really fun over here. You can actually walk, let me go back on normal. You can actually take this path a little bit in beyond the bridge, and over there you can, I wouldn't say it's like the safest thing in the world, but you can get a little close to the water, and you will sometimes see like kayakers and stuff over here. And then let me just show you one last thing before we go. If you wanted to continue north, or if you wanted to go back into get back into the city proper, you would take the path up here. It's going to go up, and eventually you'll be able to take a little path across the highway, above and across. But this is my destination right here, one of these benches. I'm going to down a big bottle of water. But awesome, I loved hanging out with everybody. It's been super fun. This was I've been wanting to do this for a while, and hopefully you guys could tell why. It's so fun to, you get that beautiful waterfront view, and then there's this nice little piece of history, and that children's book is one we read to our kiddo at night, so has a lot of meaning to me these days. And then you also get that beautiful view south of Lower Manhattan. So signing off from here underneath the Great Gray Bridge, the George Washington, feeling very, very, very small all of a sudden. I'll be signing off. Everybody go check out some of our YouTube friends, hopefully at the AAPI parade, so I'm going to do that in a little bit. And I'll be seeing everybody real soon. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you real soon. Thanks, my friends. Bye.